the software produced.
Wow, yeah, it's tough. It's a bit ghoulish.
It really is. It's also because it was like a really like black and white photo. So like I look like so unnaturally pale.
Yeah, like reheated, but only just. Like
yeah, and like this, I don't know, this piece of software, like it doesn't do the best with facial expression. So like you don't get like the smiles or anything. You just get kind of like this like up and down face.
it's extremely creepy.
It is, and the head moves around really erratically.
But you know what's even creepier is that Kanye West visited KW yesterday.
Oh wow.
Oh, is that right?
I saw that picture. That picture was so funny.
He came by, and then I don't know if he bought a sweater or he got some free swag, but he wore it all over.
Is that my audio?
I think Nadim got lost for a sec there.
Okay, cool.
Hello?
Yeah, I think you're back.
Oh yeah, we lost you for a sec.
I'm gonna try and shut down all other crap on my computer.
Yeah, I had to do that
From time to time this happens, and it's very unfortunate, but I'll always rejoin you in the chat if this happens. It's a Berlin problem.
Yeah.
Why don't Carly, why don't you share the screen there for the video?
Okay.
Can you do that?
Oh, true, I can.
Or
Good
will
point.
it not work because
I
of...
think it will work. 1 second. I'm just trying to get the...
We're also trying to see how to share
to the site.
Oh
yeah, the Will's video to start.
at the beginning.
Okay, we will be beginning in a minute or two. Okay.
Okay. Fuck.
It just hit me that Kanye West is also KW. That's funny.
That's the reason, right?
Yeah.
And like his whole team, they refer to him as KW too a lot of the time.
Oh man, so he's
real initials guy.
He's appropriating our brand.
Oh, true. I didn't even think KW. Oh my God.
That's why. That's why.
It was a sign, man.
Yeah, well, that's why it's kind of mixed feelings because I find him really objectionable these days. I mean, his support for Trump is just like beyond uncool. But he's wearing our sweater today, so people are semi-excited. I'm not that excited. Whoa. Hey, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
Is it?
Hi, guys.
Dan.
Sorry, I was just getting my old
I
mic
think the
set
stream
up.
is working. Does everybody have the stream?
Also,
sorry. New
Usually
link.
good.
Sorry. New link here.
Hey, one comment before we go. I did disable the animation on the yellow blur. There was an issue with it, so I decided to make that call.
Okay. Okay, and I'm gonna try.
Did you disable the screensaver as well?
That should be back in now. You need a hard refresh.
Okay, cool.
Hopefully that bug is gone.
Yeah, it looks great.
okay, it's working.
Yeah, it's working pretty well, I think.
We got.
I'm getting to the video. Oh, actually, I just have it as a YouTube. It's probably easier just to show it that way.
Yeah, if you.
1 second.
Because then you can share the screen, right?
Yeah.
And make sure you have it so it shares audio.
Is the stream just going to be us? Because otherwise I won't open it. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's just a YouTube stream. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Uh,
1 second.
Carly, can you let me know when you send that link out?
I just sent to you the YouTube link. Yeah.
Yeah, but like publicly, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Do you guys want to check and make sure it's fine?
Yeah.
I checked. It seems to be working.
Okay.
I loaded it and it crashed my connection. So
Okay.
I might just not.
Idea not to.
Yeah,
Might just not. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Like that. And
I'll be right back. I'm gonna
just
grab
the
a
open
coffee.
secret. So Nadim, sorry, is there any way to, why am I
You're
hearing
supposed
this
to be
twice?
using this headphone.
Oh yeah. How do I do this?
You should also cut off the stream here because otherwise you're going to eat up your whole computer.
Yeah, okay.
Will,
Yeah.
is it easier for you to just, would you be able to just share your video?
Or I can do it via YouTube here. You think there's gonna be too
Are
much
you
bandwidth?
sure? But you,
Oh. Hey, Carly, I'm gonna have to join the stream again. Can you let me in on my other computer?
Sure.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. Okay. Wait, open secret. Wait, where's Webdex? Oh yeah. Artwork. What?
why didn't you just type in Webdex Y2K20.Numa?
I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't. I just didn't. It's okay. So should I just share it as part of the whole thing? Maybe I just share the screen as like the whole
Sure,
thing.
yeah, and make sure the audio is enabled.
Yeah. Yeah, it's coming through. Okay.
What's
And
co-
what's the matter? Just gonna share my. Is that
So
sound good? Is
we're
everybody
sharing the
cool with that?
YouTube link now with everyone in the Discord, and then we'll begin, okay?
You've been ported in.
Okay, it works.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Y'all got that?
Yeah.
Cool, so we're gonna
Okay.
make the link public now.
So yeah. Sorry, it's so confusing when you're looking at screen and screen.
Close your other windows so that you save some space, like that's the window of the YouTube stream, whatever's gonna take up a lot of your.
I can't because I need to be able to get back to it. So I
Okay.
can't. So
Carly,
Can you
you're
play
gonna-
the video for a second, make sure it's not extremely choppy?
Carly, you're gonna need to enable screen
You've
share.
been ported into a non-index.
sorry, what Bradley?
You'll need to enable screen share for me to be able to screen
Oh,
share.
for you, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
Good point. I can, let's see. Do I just make co-host? Is that fine? Usually that does it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. What, Julian?
I think we need someone else to play the video if it's possible, maybe share
Why?
the
It's
screen.
fine.
No, you play it.
Part of the internet. Surrounding your conversations marked by iconic ornamentation. Some of the marks are recognizable from your prior
I
wandering.
think
I
can someone
can-
else?
I can give
Bradley,
it a
would you be able to?
shot. So my computer on my PC will play it certainly, but the audio might be an issue. Can y'all like tell me in chat if it plays well? And you can
Yes.
do it. All right, right back.
figured out. Oh, thank you for bearing with us, Nadim. As much as I think we had this figured out, of course, there's always a million. The connect, physical stuff is always harder than screen space.
Can you also share the links in the chat, right, for the new YouTube?
Yes, it's in the chat.
Okay, so I'll post it on Instagram then.
I think Bradley via chat is asking if you can enable screen share to have audio.
Oh yeah,
Maybe
am
something
I?
on your end.
Oh right.
Has that.
Wait, is he what for which one does he need screen share? I mean, I think if I just say everybody is co-host.
There's two.
Yeah, the one with the camera off, but I don't know if you can see that from the list.
Okay. I'm just making it, I think that should be fine. Allowed to record local files. Okay, that should be fine. Okay, nice.
You've been ported into a non-indexed part of the
Wait, can we post links on our Instagram yet?
Yeah, of course we can.
The new models?
That worked okay?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Okay. So live party room, Discord. Sorry, everything's moving so slowly on my computer, of course. Here, okay, whatever. And permissions. Okay. So how do we, okay. Yeah, good. It's on, did you put that to yours or to?
Sorry, I'm pasting on new models
Okay,
on the Instagram.
right, cool. Okay, so maybe we could just spam all the channels with the link for right now, and then we'll play the video. We'll play the video again later. But yeah, let's do that now.
Oh, you want to play the video now?
Well, we'll play the video in 1 second. Let's just take
Okay.
1 second and just like make sure that people on Discord are now with us, and so it can be seen. And
This will be awkward for me. You just want to like cue me when I should go over and play the video? Oh,
Dan, do you want to help share the link on Discord, Dan, if you have enough bandwidth?
I'll be right back.
You're muted, Dan.
Sorry, I can barely run multiple windows on my
Okay, reality
on my
is
laptop. My laptop is still toast. It's not, sorry.
Okay, I posted it on the, should I do a post for it too, or just the,
Did you do on new models?
yes, on
Okay,
the,
awesome.
on the stories, should I do
Yeah.
a post too?
I
or no?
think that's okay. I think that's probably fine. So
Okay.
maybe we just start and then we just see who joins and hope it's all right.
I can tweet it too.
Okay, cool. So yeah, if anyone
Good.
wants to just like spam, then we can start the video when Bradley's back and then we can jump into it. All right. Okay, cool.
Shit, did I just... Oh, fucking shit.
What?
I just accidentally wrote Codex launch instead of Webdex launch because I'm just... Let me post this one more time, please.
Okay. Oh my God. It's just true. It's like, it's impossible to both like moderate content and also handle the tech at the same time. I don't know, Nadim, if you've also experienced this, but it is just like, it's totally impossible. The brain can only work through so many channels. Like, and then after that, it's just meltdown, total meltdown.
Just get the stuff you need to get done, and we
okay.
can...
So, okay. 7 people. Let's see. Get everybody else aware this is happening now.
Carly, will you cue me when the video is supposed to start?
Yeah, we should start it momentarily.
Okay.
Is there volume on this? Okay. Oh, people are here. Okay, cool. All right. Hey, Orla. Hey, Jack. Hey, Attila. Hey, Leïth. All right, people are here. Let's go, huh?
1 second.
Okay. Hey, Matīss. Hey, Arthur. Okay. I'm just gonna.
Okay.
Okay, hold on.
You have your headphone in, you ready?
Yes, let's go to our stream really quickly. We'll make ours big, then we'll play the video and then we'll get going. Yes, we'll welcome everyone, play the video and then go. Yeah.
Let's play the video.
The video first?
Yes.
Okay, we're about to play a video and then we'll see you
Bradley,
in a minute.
If you can bring us the video. Thank you.
Yep, on it.
You've been ported into a non-indexed part of the internet. Surrounding you are conversations marked by iconic ornamentation. Some of the marks are recognizable from your prior wanderings, others are all but inscrutable. You begin posting and watch as your contributions are adorned by a string of mimetic symbols, finding yourself unsure whether Galaxy Brain, followed by an aha, is an expression of majestic awe, or pretentious overinflation, or being baffled by the conflicting emotional valences of Doom Cry OK. What to make of this environment? These marks are shorthand visual vernacular, deployed to signal acts of notice, listening, visual vocalizations, and their ambivalence is evidence of vernacular's potential to both define and protect community meaning. This is a visuality imbued with the leaky and lossy qualities of orality, vessels of diffuse meaning that function as a soft resistance against processes of systematization and overdetermination. While the vernacular is constantly in flux, here you will find traces of meaning as defined, all at once, by a swarm of new models dark forest dwellers in early 2021.
All right. All right. Welcome. Thank you, Bradley. Welcome to the New Models Webdex launch at long last. September 1st.
The introduction video was made by Will Freudenheim, who's here right now, and written by Fim.
With some audio design by you?
Well, I was just a sprinkle of sweetening. I did not. I believe Fim did the audio as well. I had some sad pads, which are always important, and is narrated by Justin, my favorite child text-to-speech entity.
Yes. So we're here with the core creators of the Webdex, and we're also here with Nadim Samman, who is the Kunstwerke Institute for Contemporary Arts curator of digital art, or digital curator, how exactly it's said. So we want to kick this off. You just saw the video. I think people are still joining the room. But we want to start with an introduction of the core people who were involved with the conception of the Webdex. And also maybe the best way to do it maybe is to actually have Nadim say a few words about the context in which the Webdex is circulating right now. So the Open Secret exhibition. Should we do that? Does that work for everybody?
Sure.
Or it's like five different
screens?
Should
we give a very, very short background on the Webdex, though? It was kind of a partner project to the Numerals Y2K 2020 Codex, which was entirely organized and written by the community, sort of swarm publishing. And the Webdex was then a sort of companion project where glossary terms were literally swarm defined, like there was like, I don't know, 20 or 30 people all on a Google Doc at once over the couple hours writing the definitions for them.
That's right.
And then a team from the community again was self-organized and coded and designed, put together this entire project.
That's right. And so we'll get into the details and some of the theory behind it and some of the thinking about what it means to be together online. And in a second, we'll speak with Fim and Will and Bradley, who are very central to this project. But maybe first we could go to Nadim Samman, and we could ask you to say a few words about this Open Secret exhibition and where your idea came from for the container that Webdex is being presented within.
Yeah, thanks, Carly, and thanks, everyone. Pleased to join you here. So Open Secret is it's a 6-month-long online program that we're putting out at KW, chiefly accessible from our website. You just go to the main page, kw-berlin.de, and there you see a little pop-up that you might click on, and you enter this subdomain. And this site, each month over the course of 6 months, and that started in, am I imagining it? June? Yeah, it's already passed. We release 2 or 3 new online artworks per month and a couple of texts. And the whole thing is trying to unfold, I would say, some of the affective responses that we have to black boxes. That's the kind of thematic sort of agenda. I think that despite the fact that we hear a lot about how society is getting more transparent and how we have more access to data and everybody's connected and all this kind of, just ideological talk around tech, it's wearing thin. And the truth is, I think with every new technology, or at least, the kind of the way things are going, especially online, we find ourselves surrounded by just a landscape of black boxes, systems where we sort of consume their outputs. Maybe we know a little bit about their inputs, but we really don't know how they work. And so for that reason, we sort of have to relate to them in strange ways. They give us weird feelings, for want of a better term. If you can't really understand how the device or the system works, you tend to relate using, analogy or, wish fulfillment. So maybe you feel wonder in the presence of an inscrutable system. Maybe you feel paranoia. Maybe you get to speculating on how does it really work behind the sort of the screen or the sort of the behind the wall. And that's where you get to speculation and you sort of almost like fantasies. And I think a lot of the sort of fantasies that sort of come up in this space, they can be pretty dark, and I think we all know we've entered a sort of a renaissance for conspiracy theories and kind of popular myth making and things like that. And so this is really the topic for the program. And that's, I've invited artists and writers and spaces to just reflect on, what is the culture of the black box? So like how is culture operating with secrets and hidden spaces, or perhaps less than visible sort of domains? And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to invite, new models and you guys to be a part and to platform the work that you're doing by, and you came back with this wonderful idea to make the sort of the codex a Webdex. And this is where somehow our institution and our kind of like, I don't know what, like ClearNet website sort of fades, if not to black, then at the very least into a kind of dark forest. And in the forest, I don't know if trolls live in the forest, but definitely, interesting people. And some of them are here tonight. And so thanks for having me join you.
Super. Well, thanks very much for giving us this contact and this platform. Of course, as we often say within the Dark Forest space, one of the challenges is actually projecting what you're doing out towards a ClearNet arena, right? Because we're all speaking to ourselves. You can become quite myopic. So it is exciting to have a bit of a broader reach. I mean, I don't know how long you can stay on. If you're willing to chill for a while, it would be interesting to hear from the creators and then loop you back in, so maybe we can have a bit of a dialogue among minds. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely. I got off my home internet, now I'm on my mobile and it's all flowing fine, so we can hang.
Okay, excellent. So then maybe without further ado, should we, do you think it's best to go to Bradley and actually let's look at this Webdex, let's see what it's about. And then Fim and Will, as you want to add your 2 cents, feel free to also speak. But maybe now, sorry, Dan, is there something? Dan is in New York, a little box on our screen.
Hi.
Do you want to say a few words?
Well, no, I think let's just go ahead. I think I want to see the Webdex, and I think I'll have some comments once we see some content. But great introduction, everybody. And hi.
Bring the content.
Let's get the content.
Yeah.
Let's get the content going. Okay.
All right. So Bradley, shall we hand it over to one of your profiles here?
Yeah. I'll screen share now. Let's see. Okay, so this is the Numerals Webdex. The idea in mind that we had was that it would be essentially an index of our glossary terms and a way to explore them so that you could learn more about like the words and concepts that the community had come up with over time and that were part of the Codex project. And then to introduce it to you kind of with some explanation and also to show you the reacts that are prevalent within the Discord as well. So I'll just kind of dive into how it flows through to start, and then we'll talk briefly about the tech stack behind it and the development process. So essentially you have this main index that you're able to browse. And so this is like the home of the site. And then as you click into each of these terms, you end up on these pages where it's got the definition and then an excerpt from the podcast that you can listen to that has something to do with that term. So possibly like the podcast would have like discussed it. Maybe it came out of the podcast to begin with, or maybe it came out of the Discord and then that concept was discussed later. You can play the audio clips and then you've got like some further information about them. If you go back to the full glossary, you can open up this Reacts panel. This is all the Reacts that have been produced over time within the Models Discord, or at least the ones from 2020. You're able to browse these, and then for each of those, you can also click in to read more. So like here's Fedora, here's Based, and then you can also see the embed code that was used within the Discord to enable that React. From here, we've got the introduction that we already showed you, the video form, and then there's also the written introduction that Finn put together that further explains the site and the concepts behind it. It's probably not necessary to go into this, but there's also the imprint page. It's important to view this. This has the full development team and production team that was involved, as well as the people that produced design work for the earlier Codex project that heavily influenced and went into this project. To that, there is one Easter egg. If you are on this main page and you pause for, I think it's about 10 seconds, you'll start to see these meme outlines appear. Let's see if it actually, yeah, there we go. So this is like an Easter egg within the site. These will transition in and out. And then if you kind of move your mouse to go away, it's essentially a screen saver.
Bradley, can you say a word about those meme outlines, where they came from, their connection to the Codex?
Yeah, so those meme outlines are prevalent throughout the Codex. I believe So the memes came directly from the Discord. So we had meme channels, and then obviously memes within all the channels. So they were handpicked out of the Discord for the Codex project. And then I believe the production behind them was Leïth and Matīss. I'm sorry if I have that incorrect. If someone wants to correct me, please do. So those came directly from the Codex project. That's how they look within the book. Yeah. Does that cover that partly?
I think so. Yeah. I'm also monitoring the chat here, seeing if I can pull up anything. So hopefully chat's going to tell us if we got anything wrong.
I should say that this banner up here, this is also some of Leïth's text, Fim's text. And if you click that, you'll also enter the introduction or go home. Yeah, is anything coming out of chat?
Great. Thank you so much. Fim, do you want to just piggyback off that and speak a bit about, give this the context? You wrote a really beautiful text that says what language means in a dark forest community or in a sub-ClearNet community or whatever language we want to use. Maybe you could extrapolate a bit from your core text that we listened to at the beginning of the stream.
Would you like me to continue screen sharing? Fim, I guess.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak, and you can continue screen sharing. It's nice to have this alongside the speaking. So yeah, like most of the Webdex, we were looking for some kind of interplay that exists within the community between the releases of the topsoil episodes, which are these audio podcasts that are targeted specifically for the new models community, and often drives the discussion in a lot of ways. And so, like, as Bradley showed, whenever you're looking through the site, you're going to find these definitions that the community Swarm created, and then alongside it, you're going to find kind of an audio resonance from the podcast. And so on the introduction page, I started it with an excerpt from Low Internet and Dan talking about this idea of the cycles of media and the cycles of like the printing press. And Dan sort of makes this kind of, this argument or this like speculation that we're moving into a kind of telepathic form of mediation. And I thought it was nice to kind of unpack that a little bit and kind of think about the logic of Reacts and the logic of how communities define visual vernaculars and what they mean at a communicative level. And so I kind of tried at the beginning to highlight the ways in which like you feel when you're in this case on a Discord server, but any kind of environment that has a lot of reacts or emojis or kinds of ways of visually signifying your reaction to something. And that kind of ambivalence, the way in which they just pile up on each other, the way in which it takes you a while to accumulate yourself to it. And it's almost like you're kind of overhearing people kind of orally or telepathically, if you like, communicating with each other. The visual vernacular has an oral quality to it. And I was thinking about that, and I was also thinking about Walter Ong, who is a historian and philosopher of language, and he has this phrase called a second orality, which points to, so there's this idea of the Gutenberg press. You have the printing press. Before that, you had oral culture in languages, and then you had the Gutenberg printing press, and then sort of from about 2000, 2010 onward, you have a resurgence of oral communication. You can look back as simple as to YouTube, but even more recently is TikTok, and just the way in which orality is the primary means of communication today. But yet it like still carries some of the characteristics of the mediation mechanisms of the Gutenberg press. It circulates in the same way. And so I was thinking about, I was talking to someone else from the server about those embed codes that Bradley showed earlier for the reacts, and how in different instances, like Instagram, for example, people will share just the embed code, like with the word in between the colons. And so it's like this kind of visual vernacular has a textual sublayer to it that still circulates in the same way that those visual oral kind of signals circulate. And so, yeah, the text is just looking at, it's very simply just kind of like trying to frame kind of like in the way that, like, you know, there's this connection to, like, you know, the project was an autonomous community project, but it was nice because it had some resonances with the open secret theme, like of like the black box, or kind of, you know, this concept that's been around for about a decade or more now, like the kind of information dark age. And I just, yeah, there's a way in which like these oralities that are embedded into a visual vernacular allow for communities to define meaning and protect it and encapsulate it and smuggle it across different strata of the internet, and to circulate in an oral capacity. So yeah, so there's that. And then I guess like the only last point to sort of highlight is, you know, we made this as a like repository of the 2020, the year 2020, and the codex also was looking at 2020, but you know, there's the potential here for this to be a living repository and to continuously develop to sort of reflect the way in which the visual and the linguistic vernacular of a community changes over time, and how that interplays with also the oral culture of podcasts. Yeah, so that's a bit of context for the introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Nadim's stream just dropped out for a second, but just to recapitulate, because I think this is, let's see, he's connecting to audio. I think what's interesting there, before we go to Will, just to highlight this, especially in the art context, is, hey, Nadim, are you back?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you caught that bit that Tim was just mentioning, but it's something that I think bears particular relation to the art context, which is this use of a shared like underground language. And anytime we think of an art scene or an avant-gardist art scene, it's the same thing, whether it's Dada or whether it's like degenerate art, or whether it's like a Fluxus art, or like Cologne 90s. There are these languages that are spoken, also through images they're spoken, that serve both, that sort of create the open secret, right? You can come into the club if you want to work to understand the language that's being deployed. And value is like demonstrated in a painting by saying, like, you know, you think of Martin Kippenberger or somebody who would fill his paintings with all of these subtle references and digs, and I mean, really memes that would repeat again and again throughout his oeuvre. And so there's something, even though we think, oh, this is a digital space and this is quite far from the terms of like painting in a gallery, it actually isn't. I mean, you had a Jana Euler show at Kunstwerke during, you know, over the, or sorry, you had an Amelie van Wolfen show also over the break. And well, both of those painters, they work using this kind of coded language in a sense that you will be familiar with if you spent time in this painting discourse. And so I can't help but find a connection between a glossary like this with this very specific language and images created by a community, and just the long tail history of painting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the idea of private languages comes in for a lot of stick these days, and perhaps too much. The idea that everything in art should be absolutely available immediately and as clear and, you know, let's say non-fuzzy as possible, I think is a really, you know, it bums me out, actually. I mean, it's precisely these kind of conversations that happen between people, and the way they flow, and the way they, in a way, crystallize into images or works, if you want to call them that. You know, that's what it's interesting to learn about. You know, like, how did these people come up with a language? How does an image come? You know, how is it born? You know, through what kind of social relations? Those are the types of questions that art historians are interested in. And certainly they sort of question that if you don't even have to be a professional critic to be interested in that. It's more like if you see something you don't understand that moves you in some way. I mean to say, even if it just makes you think, God, what does that mean? Then you want to know, how did that get created? Because it was made because people chose to spend their time making something that wasn't asked for. And that becomes, that's a tease. I want to know what gets people off who are having a good time. It's obvious when people are having a good time. You can see it in the work. So that's really important. So the idea that you just iron everything out and things become immediate, it should be just really just sort of packaged and sort of, the fat should be trimmed. I think that's a big problem. I mean, it's one of the things people demand of art and art institutions, especially when there's public money involved. There's this idea that it should just be all readily available. That neglects the point that what we're trying to do to some degree is, make something a little bit more, sticky there for people to kind of spend time with. They can't just kind of swipe, left on? That's one of the things. On the other hand, I think institutions like ours, even a Kunsthalle, not necessarily a museum, one of our jobs is to just slow an image down for a minute, to give people time to just spend some time with it. So the discourse that you have in your community, it moves quickly. The sort of the tokens are exchanged rapidly, and they sort of mutate in at pace. And the part of the fun perhaps is also the speed of that exchange within your group. But yeah, as you say, it can be hard for people to find, how do I put my foot in? How do I throw my hat in? How do I join the dance? So perhaps something like this, and it's something like a glossary, it just slows things down just enough for people to get on the ride, maybe, or see, where can I grab on, with my hand. That's kind of one of the things we contemporary art institutions should do. It's just, dip right into the current, pull out, I keep talking in metaphors because it seems so appropriate. Pull out something from the flow and say, look, just here you can look at it for a bit longer than you would elsewhere, and maybe kind of find your way into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very nice way of saying it. And I also appreciate the fact that whereas there doesn't need to be this point for point explanation of what a thing is, but the institution and Cave in particular, and Open Secret in particular, has made an effort to make things legible. You have the public money to say, we're going to make sure there are transcriptions of audio, there's signing of video, it is accessible to, in many different formats. And maybe this is actually a good pivot to Will, because this website has the Webdex, similar to Open Secret, has many, many different formats that are going all at once. And I wonder if, Will, you can talk a little bit about the logic of the UX here, and what you envisioned when you, Bradley, and Fim were speaking with the other devs about how to approach organizationally making a site like this, and what features were important and why.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, so from the beginning, we had this kind of source text from the glossary terms. And well, actually, I could even take a step further back. So the project really began with, I took all of the podcast episodes from 2020 and did an AI transcription of them. And pulling from all of that was part of the source material for many of the key terms that then became the glossary, as well as from the metadata from the podcast episodes themselves. So this kind of the swarm writing project, we began with a Google Doc that had all of the terms laid out to begin with. And I think that's kind of important to note that we kind of had this framework to start with that then everybody built upon in this shared session. And so those terms already had this kind of connection either to the Discord or to the podcast episodes themselves. And so from there, we were thinking about ways of kind of then returning back to the podcasts to then pull the kind of source audio back. So as we were kind of planning out this project, we were thinking about, okay, how are we going to connect the definitions that were created by the community with the source material originally? And so we kind of created, and we already had all of the transcripts, though they needed a significant amount of cleaning from the AI. So the main concept was kind of like laying them out side by side, this kind of like in larger format, having the group definition on one hand, and then having the moment in which it was kind of like conceived or defined, kind of in the moment, in terms of the audio on the side.
A preservation of context, basically.
Right, exactly. And it's funny because, yeah, sometimes it's almost as if the glossary term, like the group definition, helps give context to the conversation, and sometimes vice versa. Which, yeah, so you can kind of read it either way. It's not meant to be read like left to right, and that's why I think it's nice that they're sitting side by side. And then in terms of the reacts, we kind of imagined just having this like infinite grid that could kind of just like extend in all directions, with all of these like visual pieces that similarly had like their kind of definitions that went parallel to them. They weren't as obviously, they didn't have the same kind of linkages to the podcast because they tended to be slightly more just like made on the server. So we didn't preserve that same format for those. But we liked having these kind of like two different formats that were both kind of fit together in the sense that they kind of go one after another in the actual codex itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And they support each other. Whereas when there's a term that is used in a React, it's referenced back to the term. So it's like a little bit of a Rosetta Stone of sorts of the Reacts and the glossary terms. You're writing a bunch of notes there.
Writing a bunch of notes?
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say one thing is interesting, and especially the way the text and the clips from the podcast and the swarm written definitions all work together and collected and organized in this one space is, you kind of get a map of the lexicon and ideas that just are sort of emergent in this group, and it's developed kind of beneath the surface of the clear internet. It's coming from a sort of closed community, and oftentimes we ask how to light leak or how to communicate outward from what's discussed and generated within the community itself. And I think this is a really good example of a format that allows a sort of public communication, but maintains all of the benefits of a closed group, not subject to algorithms and information highwaymen,
right,
wandering in and molesting you and harassing our villagers.
No molesting and harassing.
I meant that in the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, right.
But it is subject to a kind of editorial committee of some kind, even if it only comes together for this particular output. The kind of the freewheeling, creation among the wider group now kind of gets put together by a smaller team.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, there's this freewheeling output that then say 20, 25 people put together on a document. And then there's other layers of trimming it down and like cleaning it up or whatever. And so the end, it is like this sprawling voice does get, a refinement culture is applied.
Well, you need that to make a cohesive, to pull
That's
the
right.
signal out of the noise,
right?
Anyways,
right.
And I think this is kind of a process that is, I don't know, maybe a bit new and one that I think you could imagine being ported to different contexts, perhaps, or being certainly replicated in the future.
I mean, a question for the devs here. Were there any big decisions you made that you felt that you were sort of had like the hand of God, where you were making big decisions that were going to shape the way people would engage with this language for better or worse, and you just had to make those decisions? We'd like to think of these as horizontal communities, but of course we know at the end of the day, I think you guys pulled a lot of all-nighters in doing this as well. It's 4 a.m. and you just have to make a decision. Were there any big moments like that for you in the production of this site?
So the dev team was fairly large. I can't speak for the like full team, just myself here, but if I could probably guess at least like one feature where that fits. We had this idea early on for the React window to be this kind of like infinitely draggable grid. Just given like constraints and time, like we kind of end up like with this decision to make it like scroll. And I know that's kind of like speaking to like a technical constraint, but like essentially like we knew that we wanted to have this kind of idea that like the Reacts float within the site and you can kind of engage with them at any time. And so it was important to us that like if you're on a page, you could just like be reading a glossary term or just like listening to the video and just like pop this thing open and explore what these Reacts mean. And so we wanted this like overlay that can overlay itself. And like the technical details that go into like making that work on the site ended up being quite complex because there's lots of like kind of small, or like not small, but like tedious details of like web development that like can like really bite you if you don't know about them coming up. And they kind of end up like conflicting with design sometimes. And so we just had to like make some decisions that was like, we really want this feature to exist this way, but like the only way to execute it that way is going to be like to apply some constraints to how we actually do it versus the early design. Yeah, I think that might fit.
One parallel example that I could give was when selecting which audio clips to use as definitions, like from the podcast excerpts, because occasionally there would be like 3 different places where a term was mentioned. I'd have to pick which one felt like it was like the right one to go with the definition, and became kind of like an editorial question of, do I pick the funny one? Do I pick the one that feels like that's quick, or that has a broader context that like it kind of fills in? Because we were working quite directly from the source material of the swarm definitions. We weren't really editing those at all. But the excerpts from the podcast, we kind of had some leeway over where we were picking from and how we were editing it down a little bit.
Yeah, I have to say it was sometimes we were so, I think, worn out after the codex that we were like, well, you chose this reference. What are we going to do about it? Try to find another? Guess we have to go with it. And there were definitely times where I'm like, okay, this thing is now like immortalized until the server farm dies or whatever on this site as words we said that created a term, maybe not like the best choice of words, but for better or worse, you chose it. So I guess we're going to have to go with it. Yeah.
The person who spoke those things is a stranger to me today.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering if you have any plans for like the corpus of everything that we've said and our voice models, because there seems to be a lot of potential there to just kind of automate us out of our jobs, which I think would be probably a relief for everybody.
There's definitely, there's definitely been talk on the server somewhere or another about now that we have like 100+ hours of training data that's tagged with each of your names on each thing, that we could just and all the text as well, that we could have some real GPT-3 like auto generative, like maybe it could be like topsoil only or something. We could just do one full episode that's fully generative.
I think I would like to see that.
That would be fun.
It would just be called AstroTurf.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's right.
The perfect episode.
Yeah, the perfect episode.
Or you could sneak it into like a 5-minute segment somewhere else and see if people notice it.
Oh, also
something like
idea.
that too.
Yeah, definitely worth pursuing.
To zoom out from us, and I know I don't want to take up too much, Nadim, of your time also, because we may then devolve into stuff that's more informal, but I wonder how a project like this sits within, we are somewhat myopic in our understanding of these dark forest communities, if we're still calling them those, but how does a project like New Models or a project like Joshua, Cinderella, Do Not Research, how does that fit into your conception of the larger landscape right now? What do you see when you look at art and tech and the way that culture is converging now?
I think that it's really hard. If I just think about how it's funded, this project is funded by the Kulturstiftung des Bundes, and it's for so-called digital interactions in cultural institutions. But what they're trying to do, what this government money is trying to do, is to kind of digitize, the sort of non-digital German, museum and culture sector. As people who live in Berlin know, you have to, when you engage with local government, you have to write them letters or fax them and things like that. And so that's what that money's for. So there's been a kind of judo move to actually get this to commissioning new artworks and things like that. But there is there's still a limitation on the other side, whereas, I think there's this expectation that if the artwork is digital, then it must be a website, or it must happen, somehow, on the internet and not in the gallery as well. So, that's been something I'm working with and trying to kind of move beyond, because I think that obviously the digital is everywhere, including in your bathroom, and things like that. So, that's kind of the next step. But in this case, it was about like how, should we provide, a fixed sort of box for the work? Should we design it and then you kind of have to fit your work into it? That seems like a bad idea. So just also linking out from our website to, whatever site you would create or whatever experience, an artist would make. I think that's an important move. That might seem really obvious, just given the way the internet works. But when you're talking about, just taking, say, like the government funds and like kind of commissioning something, and then kind of they want to see their stamp on something, I think it was quite important to kind of communicate that that's not how it works. Mm-hmm. That having these bridge pages which send you elsewhere is, as good as, setting the gallery up, with good lighting for an artwork, and that was important. I think, the way that a lot of work that has to do with emerging technology, and especially online, is going, there's always this discursive element. So it was important to commission the text as well and kind of put them alongside the works too. But it was also important to make the site a bit of a problem in terms of its usability, like, to have this play of visibility and invisibility. So when you start on the Open Secret website, the screen is black and you have to move the cursor to kind of see what there is to kind of interact with. And then when we bring the sort of notional accessibility of offering sign language interpretations of artworks, making that not just a space where we say, here's where everything gets cleared up and presented, easily to the signing community, deaf and signing community, making that also a space for a commission. So we have, Adam Harvey's, facial sort of anonymization work done on the signer. So just making sure that each space of the site potentially is its own moment for a critical artistic contribution, and then letting the artists do their thing. I think that's really important as well. I think these are all just like basic considerations. But in terms of where things are moving, also, there is I think there's like a big interest in kind of assigning authorship to individual authors still in the art world. We all know that a lot of famous artists have these gigantic studios with like 40, 50 people in them. But at the end, the gallery needs one name to assign the commodity to in some way. I think this stands to be really disturbed by the kind of work that's happening, with new models and similar groups, if indeed what you're doing is art. And that's really a question that I think it's up for the audience to kind of think about. And I don't propose to say what is and what isn't art at this point. I think we're making images, we're talking about images, we're talking about art too. It's not about locking things down in the same way. So that in this project, my world or the institution, kind of just the door opens into your living room or your space. And where does it end? Who knows?
Right. That's great. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it was also, I think, nice for us just to have a container for this to exist, because when we realized you can make a website, but then people also have to remember to go there or have an occasion to go there. And so for this site to sit in that context, which is a bit outside of New Model's core, it's like sitting in at some kind of town square for 6 months, which is exciting for us. What do you guys think?
No. Go ahead, finish.
I do wonder if there's going to be an IRL component. I know when we did the Codex and had a meetup, that was this really wonderful de-virtualization moment of the bodies and the minds. And it felt so like, how many centillion pixels are in a human? What do you say?
In the universe.
In the universe?
23 centillion.
Yeah, it just felt like an explosion, right? And so it would be cool, of course, institutions, consolas, or public spaces, to see them as new nodes of de-virtualization and see what that looks like. But maybe that's, something to be answered in the future. And of course, when COVID is less of a factor.
Yeah, I think considering the continuum between the digital object and the physical object, that all has to come together in future exhibitions. The exhibition space isn't just the bricks and mortar; it's kind of virtualization, through other sort of spatial means, be they virtual means. So I'm really interested in that continuum. I mean, I'd like to see, we've got a book that's become a website. Websites should become books. They should become exhibitions. Your kind of 3D sort of carved avatars need to be, in the courtyard of a museum speaking, but GPT-3 has to be programming your voices.
I would like to say about the German government funding too. They had a choice between moving all of German bureaucracy totally online, totally frictionless, multiple languages, or funding the New Models Webdex Y2K20. And we're really grateful that they ended up funding the Webdex.
Right choice.
Thank you.
Yes, crumbs from Merkel's table, but well spent nevertheless.
Absolutely. I think we'll want to speak a bit more. I don't know if Bradley or Fim or Will, if you have any thoughts or questions, or Dan is central here, if you also want to ask any questions of Nadim or vice versa, because I think we can continue on here for a little bit, but, please also here's some space to ask questions.
I'd like to ask you guys, first, could I just provoke you a little bit? Do you see any connection between the sort of, as you call it, like swarm creation or swarm authorship and something like surf clubs?
Like Cory Archangel.
Yeah, like is it something different in its like mode of creation?
I think its relationship with like the paywalled Discord or the Patreon, there's a monetization. Not that it's direct, but that is a bit different than Surf Club, where there was no possibility of monetizing that whatsoever. I do think, you look at something like Do Not Research, which I think is more even exemplary of that than what we're doing at this point. Although maybe we're going to transition more towards that. They're getting paid for their contributions via people, which I think is great. And that was a kind of fundamental problem with the Surf Club era was, okay, well, what are you going to do with this? It was a very fun, exciting moment. But this is, I do think in general, we're sort of revisiting a lot of Web 1.0, some of the kind of the best, most exciting things about Web 1.0 right now in internet culture, but with a different twist and with paywalls and dark forests and a bit more exclusivity than before. So I do think that it's something pretty different and will turn into something even more different, because I do think it's going to replace, it's replacing a different aspect of the ecosystem than what surf clubs were.
Would you guys agree? Oh, sorry.
No. I'd love to hear if any agreements or disagreements as well. Nobody disagrees? But do you, to use like a kind of like hoary old term, like could you describe the community as like a collective? Because collectives that's a term one might talk about avant-garde communities in art history, of the 20th century and things like that? Or are you more like a connective? Are you collected just by the platform itself, by operating on Discord?
That's a nice distinction. I like that. A connective as opposed to a collective. Maybe that needs to be added to the glossary. I have thoughts, but maybe.
Go ahead with your thoughts.
Or FIM too, maybe.
Yeah.
I would just say one small thing that feels distinct, or that what I think of when I hear swarm is like maybe it is a collective, but it converges for one specific action and then kind of disperses again. And it feels like very tied to the thing. Well, in this case, like that is being created, even if it's like only converges very briefly, whether it's for the 2 hours that we all sat together and created the glossary, or whether it's the kind of like longer terms, like swarm project of working on the codex itself. I think that it feels like something that like converges and disperses like regularly and doesn't necessarily converge in the same configuration again.
Yeah, perfect articulation. I would say exactly that. It's not like a collective being something that's long and fixed and it's traumatic when one person leaves or comes in. This connective or this swarm is exactly what you said, Will. It comes together for one purpose. And when it reforms, there may be totally different people involved, but the general energy behind it is similar and the general shape is somehow similar, even though the bodies can change out.
Yeah, that's interesting. I tend to view the stakes in the word collective as having to do with something like a shared program. Like if you think about the modernist sort of collective, the avant-garde collective, it's like a manifesto, and it's like the Constitution in the US. You sit down and you write a list of the things that define your group, and then you notionally stick to them. And then of course, like behind the scenes, you break all the rules and all that sort of stuff, and like the leader emerges from the notionally equitable sort of thing. Whereas perhaps like a connective action, a swarm comes together perhaps without a statement that they're proposing. Like if I remember Occupy, there's this idea that the program will emerge. So I wonder, if the program is always emerging anew, or if there really is perhaps, something in there that's already agreed.
I can briefly speak to this. When I think about new models, I have to think back to the kind of origins of the, if you want to call it like a project, in the kind of desire to to aggregate. And I think that aggregative logic is actually like a very defining characteristic of the community, and also kind of defines this web project and also the swarm activity. And it also kind of in many ways reflects the nature of what happens on this Discord. There's a lot of very in-depth conversation about particular aspects of what's shared on there, but a lot of it is link sharing. And there are other Discord servers that feel like, I don't know, like shared studio spaces where you're just kind of passing information from desk to desk. And so I think that there's this way in which the aggregating impulse shapes a lot of, like, I think that is in some senses the emergent quality that defines the behaviors within the community. And I think it's also reflected in some of the kind of shifts that is occurring within new models in terms of thinking about there's this term that the community uses of light leaking, which is bringing information from, and this website is a really good example of that, bringing information from these discussions and this like meta aggregation and kind of focusing in on that and presenting that to kind of give like an insight into a more wide-ranging conversation. So I don't know if that really speaks to your question of what is the kind of emergent aim or goals or program of the swarm activities or this community, but I do think it's important to remember that the aggregative impulse permeates a lot of what happens. I think from the original conception of the New Models project, but also in terms of a lot of what the community has actually produced, the codex being another example of that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Signal craft in a noisy age.
In a noisy noosphere. Yeah.
As I really appreciate it. Now, guys, on that note, I've got a loud signal from my 2-year-old, which tells me I have to log off. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you,
Thank you
Nadim,
for
joining, and thank you again for having us as part of Open Secret.
Yeah.
Again, everyone, check out Open Secret of the Kunstwerke Institute for Contemporary Art website. It's up through the end of December, I believe.
Yeah, kw-berlin.de, and then you can click through from there. Thanks for having me. I'd love to stick around. The conversation's just getting interesting. See you around, guys.
Ciao.
Bye then. Bye-bye. Bye.
All right. Cool.
Also co-signed by Kanye West today.
Yeah, exactly. Also co-signed by Kanye West. Someone's got to make a mashup there. Porch, Kunstwerke, there's too many coordinates. So yeah, I mean, I don't know now if there are any of the other people who've been involved in this who want to speak, or if we feel, I think there was an idea to do a swarm activity, but instead maybe there's this environment that another one of the devs has created, and maybe you want to demo that. Shall I maybe Fim, Bradley, Will, you can direct
Let's ask them what they want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
What was the idea for getting that environment into was it to post a link to it or to have it on the stream?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we could stream it, but I think the idea was to post it in the server, and people could come and hang out there afterwards. But we could preview it. I suspect it might work best with your setup, Bradley.
Does someone want to intro it a bit and just give us some context for what this is?
Yeah, so for the intro video that we watched, that was made, well, Will should speak about it, but it's an extension of that environment, ported into this space called Mozilla Hubs, which allows you to create 3D environments that you can walk through. And one of the devs and designers that we were working with, Eclectic Taste of Bot, ported that environment into Mozilla Hubs, and it has all of the reacts, and you can kind of walk through the dark forest. It has this backing track, and it also has like a screen capture of the website, scrolling through and looking at the reacts. And it is, I'll also share a link in the server for anyone who wants to join. You can come on and you can speak to each other. You can use your voice. It works best on desktop, not so, it also works on mobile, and it should be platform agnostic, but desktop is the best render quality. And yeah, so I think if Bradley's able to, we'll give him a moment to set that up, but then we could just let him kind of show what that looks like. And then we could kind of transition over there if anyone wants to continue talking or just hanging out in that space.
Sounds good. And before we go after that, maybe we'll also say a few more words about like longer term vision about like the glossary, or sort of what we think about it as being open-ended. No, keep that. Okay. Anyway, this is not the end of Webdex. I guess we can say that there's more, there should be more to come, we think, in the future. This is merely a milestone.
Certainly inspires
further.
Much
exactly.
It's a proof of what could be a very expansive enduring format.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
And the ground that the whole team kind of broke in creating something like this is like, I think, really important and successful, and an amazing demonstration of possibility.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I would just say again one more bit of a preamble, but like both with the Codex team and with the Webdex team, ground was broken of things that we didn't think would necessarily be possible, and people came together, put a hell of a lot of effort in, and then we ended up with these like very cool new spaces. One in physical space, this book, and two in digital space with the Webdex. So huge congratulations to everybody who contributed to both of these efforts, and to into the general new models, mood, conversation, collective brain. It's very exciting to witness this happen. And on that note, also, we just ordered the next run of books with the printer. So that actually is happening. If you haven't gotten your codex or you have a friend who wants one, that actually is in process. So thank you, Matīss, for sending the file. More details on that coming soon.
It's also crazy how the sun went down and our green screen is about to reclaim itself from our background. I just noticed. But yeah, I don't know if Bradley had any success loading it. Also, is there going to be swarm activity?
I think we're going to be converging as a swarm on this hub.
Okay.
Yeah.
And taking it from
about,
there.
So one thing, should I just start streaming it for like a while and then someone want to take over after that, or is this the end and maybe I just do this for several minutes and then cut the stream?
Yeah, let's just play it by ear. We can sub.
Okay.
We have the audio, so
we should be. Yeah. I mean, should we then say goodbye? Thank you to everyone.
Okay.
Have the team
let's do that. Let's do that.
We can have Bradley walk through, and then we can end the stream.
That sounds good. Yeah. Okay. So yes. So thank you again. Maybe everyone just wants to sign off. Starting with Will, you're in the upper left.
Okay. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.
And maybe what you did on the project again, in case people are, looking,
sure,
for some freelance.
Yeah. So I guess I worked on a bunch of the transcription related archiving stuff, and then I also made the video, or the visuals for the video.
Awesome. Bradley?
Yeah, I'll go. I did a good amount of design and dev work along with the other devs on the team to produce the website.
Bradley, it was also your idea to go through with all this. You were the Leïth of the Webdex.
I would not say that, but I did make it happen. Yeah.
Well, anyway, you marshaled it through along with Will and Fim. Fim, do you want to say a word?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for doing the stream and for supporting the project. And like there's another person in the community who kind of describes themselves as like their skill as being chaos brain. I feel like that's like maybe a decent description. I really was there for a lot of conversations, did a lot of brainstorming with Will, working through the archive and thinking about the connections and trying to bring people together to do the work. So if you ever need someone who's got that kind of chaos brain skill set, that's what I did here.
To clarify, chaos brain meaning taking chaos and like putting it somehow miraculously into spreadsheets that like auto like calculate and like automating things that like seem impossible to automate.
I thought it meant you could hire Fim and he'd come in and fuck up your office.
Maybe that's true.
Yeah, either or.
Everyone who worked on the site, though, I believe is listed in the imprint.
That's right. So have
hire,
a look at
hire new models.
Yeah, hire new models. You can click on their name and find their site.
Hire from new models.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. It's an incredible beacon of talent. It's the new LinkedIn.
Good place to start in any case. All right, without further ado, Bradley, if you want to take us into the environment, and then we will be posting in the Discord the link to this Mozilla Hubs. Yeah, is that how we should do it?
Yeah, let's do that. I'll probably just like walk around the forest for a while and then stop.
And if you're not yet in the Discord, patreon.com/newmodels, of course.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all for being here.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Bye, guys.
Sorry, can you hear the audio?
Yeah. Whoa.